Howdy, my name's Chuck Cruz. I am a retired chemical engineer in the Houston, Texas area. I live in Baytown, Texas. Progress Texas rocks. Progress Texas is the voice for the progressive community. The information that y'all provide is great and helps me stay in contact with people who have their heads screwed on correctly. I live in one of the reddest areas of Harris County, and it can feel a little lonely sometimes, so it's great to have y'all boost my spirit.
It's Thursday, April 17th, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch. Rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Progressive people in Texas on occasion wake to bad news, and this, my friends, is one of those mornings. Is a massive handout of your tax dollars to the wealthiest Texans at the behest of a Republican governor on the payroll of a Pennsylvania billionaire enough to kick off the day in the dumps? Yes, it is, unfortunately, and it wasn't especially a surprise either. The Texas Republican Party has chosen the private school voucher scam as its primary driving motivation for years now, to the point of manipulating their own ranks and undercutting their own loyalists for the crime of also being loyal to the school kids back home in their rural Texas districts. We all saw it coming, and it worked, as Jaden Edison and Jasper Shearer at the Texas Tribune put it, an historic first, as private school vouchers have become the new reality in Texas with just a few procedural votes to go. The debate was still raging. When I hit the sack last night around midnight, Democratic reps Yolanda Jones, Gina Hinojosa, Aaron Zwiener, and others fighting to the last, staring the Republican opposition in the face as attempt after attempt to add some degree of reason to the situation were struck down. And just a few hours ago, in the wee hours of this Thursday morning, Senate Bill 2 passed on an 85-63 vote, with every present Democrat voting no, recalling the significant coalition for school kids that the Dems built in sessions past with small-town Republican lawmakers makes the fact that only two of them sided with those kids this time all the more painful and shameful. An attempt to allow the voters of Texas to decide on the supposedly super popular money grab by putting the issue on the November ballot didn't work either, as all of the Republicans except Dade Phelan voted that crazy idea down as well. SB 2's backers continue to insist that it will prioritize low-income children and students with disabilities, a notion that flies in the face of the fact that SB 2 imposes no such new admission requirements on private schools. Regardless of which kids the state prioritizes for these vouchers, private schools can still deny any student they choose. And let's note that $10,000 is not enough for lower-income Texans to pay for most private schools in the state, the average tuition of which exceeds $11,000, and the top tier are far, far more expensive. The Village School in Houston, over $36,000 per year. Gateway Academy in Houston, $49,000 per year. San Marcos Academy, over $53,000 per year. One proposal to fix that came from Representative Harold Dutton of Houston, who filed an amendment to offer higher voucher amounts to students on the lower rungs of the income ladder. It, like the rest, was shot down by the Republicans. Dutton says, quote, if you're in a 12-foot hole and somebody sends you a 10-foot rope, that's not much of an option, unquote. New Texas Democratic Party Chair Kendall Scudder, who was there all night as well, issued a statement a few hours ago saying, quote, the vast majority of Texas students will not benefit from this legislation. More than 150 counties in Texas have zero private school options. But that doesn't matter to Greg Abbott and his fellow Republicans, so long as their donors get richer. Greg Abbott knows this voucher bill is unpopular. If it weren't, he wouldn't have targeted 14 of his own Republicans to force it through. This bill is welfare for the rich, plain and simple. Working families are going to be the ones who will foot the bill for this voucher scam. We're deeply disappointed in the lawmakers who chose to fall in line instead of standing up for their communities. As Democrats, we will continue fighting for our public school students, unquote. Speaking of that fight, let's revisit that threat we talked about yesterday from the Democratic minority over all of this that the Republican majority clearly did not take seriously. And that was a pledge signed by over 50 Democrats to sink all constitutional amendments for the rest of the 89th legislative session should vouchers pass without a public vote. We mentioned yesterday Renzo Downey's coverage from the Texas Tribune, citing at least 4 as-yet unnamed Democrats and Capitol staffers on this. Constitutional amendments require at least 100 votes from the House's 150 members to pass the chamber before going to Texas voters. With 62 Democrats in the House, Republicans need at least 12 to go along to make any constitutional amendment happen. If over 50 of those 62 have pledged to block them, several top Republican priorities could be stopped in their tracks. At Progress Texas, we still haven't seen this declaration, so we don't yet know who among the Democratic minority have signed on and who have not. We're following this closely. And that actually is what we all must now do. Follow closely. Follow stories of public schools struggling to get by and in some cases failing. Follow stories of lower-income kids who qualify for vouchers but then end up back in public schools because they can't find a private school that will accept them or that they can afford, even with the voucher. Follow stories of rich Texas families already bought into private schools who become 10 grand richer on your dime. And realize and recognize that this is all part of a trend that permeates Republican-controlled government all the way to the top. Billionaires are boldly, openly running the show in America and in Texas, and they don't appear to be much interested in making life better for anyone but themselves. We feel and hope that there's an awakening to all of this beginning. Republicans have just pulled $1 billion daylight heist on Texas taxpayers and school kids. At this point, it's up to us. Will they continue to get away with it? It's up to the people of Texas, the voters of Texas, to wake up to the hijacking of our government and to do something about it. The opportunity for change sits before us. Republican overreach with an unpopular voucher plan in Texas is in parallel to Trump's overreach in deporting people without due process in defiance of the courts, and Elon Musk's wanton and illegal rampage through our federal institutions. Republicans and billionaires are drunk with power, but for now anyway, they're still accountable to the voters. It's time for those voters to remind them who's boss. San Antonio and Austin Friends Progress Texas is proud to welcome San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg as our guest for a live podcast taping at our Party for Progress coming up on Tuesday, May the 6th, and you're invited. We look forward to a long overdue visit to Alamo City. Again, mark that date, Tuesday, May 6th, live pod taping with Mayor Ron Nirenberg and good fun with you in San Antonio. See the show notes and get your tickets right now thanks to Austin Kaplan and the Kaplan Law Firm, Shannon Hernseer, Julianne Reeves, Tracy Miller, Will Judy, Nicolette Ardiente, and more for their generous support of our San Antonio Party for Progress. Our mission at Progress Texas is to counter the conservative disinformation machine, but they far outmatch us in funding. Those aforementioned billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups spend a lot of money keeping their audiences in the dark. And if you come to appreciate the light we shine on important political news in Texas on a daily ongoing basis, please know that our regular everyday listeners form the backbone of our funding. If that's you, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to progresstexas.org/donate. Thanks to Sandra Seifert, Robert Whitehead, and Mary Tadikin, all of whom are on the team. We appreciate all of you very, very much. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Thursday, April 17th, 2025. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.